Tony D'Angelo is your new NXT Men's Champion, defeating Joe Hendry, Ethan Page, and Ricky Saints. Oh my goodness, fellas. NXT Stand and Deliver, the WrestleMania of NXT, has just wrapped up. And there's a lot to talk about. We're going to go through everything that happened at Stand and Deliver. We're going to break it all down. And Bubba, when I tell you, this show was packed to the brim with absolutely insane matches. I mean it. And it's even crazier that we kicked things off by having a title change, a major title change, and having Lola Vice win the Women's NXT Championship by defeating Jacy Jayne and Kendall Gray. We knew this was happening, and the logic behind it made so much sense because it's like you have time for Kendall Gray to win that championship, and then I kind of knew that we were obviously going to get a Jacy Jayne title loss because whenever Jacy Jayne was coming out, we were getting like this little cinematic during her entrance of like little times that while she was holding the championship, the biggest moments of her reign, and I was just like, yeah, it's over. And sure enough, the WWE pulls the trigger on it, has Lola Vice become the new champion, and I truly can't think of a better option. Now, during the pre-show, I did think that WWE went a little bit overboard and had Kendall Gray be a little bit too overconfident. She was saying that even though she's the future, she can still be the now. And I found that very interesting because Kendall pretty much was just saying, hey, everybody's saying that I'm the future of WWE, but what if I'm the now? What if I win the championship today and y'all don't even know what to expect? I think that'd be really fun. But having Lola Vice win the Women's NXT Championship was the best choice WWE could have done in this match, having it a triple threat, which, by the way, after Tuesday, we talked about it on the pod, and I truly think that it was a good moment. And a lot of people bashed it. A lot of people were saying, I hate Triple H. A lot of people were saying Stand and Deliver is going to be whack, and I truly gave it some hope because we've seen this type of stuff before, and every time it's delivered. So I think that once again, they delivered. They found a way to not bury Kendall Gray or Lola Vice or Jacy Jayne, had them all come out strong and had them coming out all looking like strong competitors to come back and win that championship. Now, one thing that I'm really intrigued by, what is next for Jacy Jayne? Where will Jacy go from here? She has had a super long NXT Women's Championship reign, but where does she go from here? Does she go back after Lola? I don't see that personally. I think that Lola was on the hunt for Jacy Jayne for so long, I just can't see where there's going to be a retreat. I don't think WWE can go back to the storyline where Jacy Jayne goes back after that title. I just can't see that happening currently. Now, tomorrow I might see it happening, but as of this time, after everything's done, wrapped up, and that's finished, I definitely don't see things going that way. I see Jacy Jayne 9 times out of 10 going up to that main roster. But then, if Jacy Jayne goes up to the main roster, there has to be some work done with the Fatal Influence. Because Fallon can't carry that group, Laney can't carry that group. There's nobody in that group except for Jacy Jayne that can be the leader. So either that group gets ran into the ground, we release both of them, which I would find hard to do with Fallon Henley just because we're seeing Fallon Henley be a former North American champion, so also speed champion, as of recent. So do we eventually see Jacy Jayne move up to the main roster after this? I don't know. I think that'd be really confusing for what the future would be for the Fatal Influence, just leaving your faction behind. But it could be a Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson situation where we have Lash just come up to him fair and square and say, hey, listen, I've gotten a call from the main roster. I'll see y'all. That could be the storyline we go with. I would not be mad at that at all. But, either way, I think that WWE made the right choice in that opening contest. I think that Lola Vice is always the right way, and she's a double champion, and that's like the most important part. I think that obviously there has to be like some time where they lose that championship, and I think that Lola Vice and Mr. Iguana will obviously lose those tag titles to probably Ethan and Chelsea again, just because they were such good title holders. But that's something to talk about for another day. Let's get on to the next match, but a beautiful opener for that show. Beautiful opener for Stand and Deliver. Like I say every time, let me know down below what y'all think about everything on this card. I know there's going to be so much to talk about in the comment section. Just type anything that you feel was the best part. And I think that really every part of the show was good. So literally every part of the show is worth talking about, but still we're going to talk about all of it. Then we would see a match that I thought was going to be a match that I wasn't going to be excited for, but ended up being potentially the best in-ring match of the night in Swipe Right versus Los Americanos. We would end up seeing Swipe Right retain those tag team championships, which is what I expected, which is what we all expected. And by the way, if Los Americanos would have won, I would have been pretty upset. But I think that in this instant, I don't think that WWE looked at this match and said, okay, let's have them go out there and see what they can do. I think they came into this saying, hey, we're going to get a breather from the Lola Vice win, and this is going to be our midway breather. But no, I think that this was super impactful to the night. I think that WWE doing this was super smart because you're having light shine on still evolved superstars, by the way, but a faction who is on the verge of getting called up. So having a faction like this be shown on the biggest PLE of the year for NXT, I think is special, and you can tell NXT truly cares about that evolve. And obviously, you don't see the main roster pay attention to NXT a whole bunch, but the fact that NXT is paying attention to that lower brand, I think, is so important. And I find it very cool how Shawn Michaels and the rest of NXT is focusing on that a lot because I think it's important. You know, Evolve can barely float on its own. So having that recognition from NXT and having Evolve guys be on NXT, be shown up front on NXT, I think is the most important thing they could be doing. But yeah, so satisfied with that match. Swipe Right and Los Americanos. Definitely thought it was going to go a different way than it did. Didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but the tag team correlation between both teams was just clicking, and there was no way to stop that match from not being good. It was just a banger match any way you see it. I would probably go back and watch that match any day of the week if I had to. It was just great. I mean, that's the best way to describe it. A absolutely heated feud. The most heated feud going in to Stand and Deliver. The only match on the card that was not for a championship. Sol Ruca versus Zarya. And I think that this match showed out more than it needed to. I think that where Sol and Zarya, we had this little face-to-face moment during the match where we see Sol and Zarya go face-to-face, and we kind of see this moment of realization set in for Zarya where it's like, do I forgive Sol, or do I just keep going on this rage path? She obviously picks the second option. She tries to go after Sol and lets her emotions get the best of her, where Sol eventually would be able to hit that off the top rope, hit the Soul Snatcher, get the best of Zarya, and end up winning and getting the momentum to carry her on to the biggest division in NXT, that NXT Women's Championship picture. And you can tell now everything's adding up. We've been seeing Lola technically in the side of Sol Ruca and being there for Sol Ruca whenever she needs her every time in the locker room. And now we're seeing that full force moment come right back around, even though in the backstage interview after Sol Ruca beat Zarya, Izzy Dame stepped up to Sol Ruca and said, you're not getting that title shot before me. So eventually that's going to be something coming down the line where WWE looked at Izzy Dame and said, hey, let's move her up to this next level as well. But Sol Ruca's been waited and has been due for a WWE NXT Championship run. So the fact that she hasn't got it yet, I think is definitely disrespectful to her. But the fact that she's getting it now definitely makes me satisfied with what's been going on with her. And I think that WWE made a smart decision by having Zarya versus Sol come first. Now, is there a chance we run Sol versus Zarya back? I think there definitely is. Zarya is not going to go out like that. But also, I think that we're going to have to see Zarya go after Tatum Paxley. That just has to be the next move. It has to be. There's no other explanation. It has to be the next move. Zarya has to win the championship, and whether that's the Women's Speed Championship from Ren Sinclair, I think that'd be fun too. I just think that the best thing for both of these superstars would be to separate them from each other as soon as possible. And I would not be mad if we see another rerun between Sol versus Zarya. I think that either way this match was banger, so we get it again. I would not be mad at it, but I do think we need to hurry up and get this rivalry over with just because for Sol's sake she needs to be on the main roster by now, and before you get to the main roster you don't want to end up like Javon Evans and not have an NXT Championship run before then. So WWE having Sol Ruca stall in NXT, having her beat Zarya here, getting launched up to that main title picture in NXT, then going on to, obviously, it's going to happen, Sol beating Lola Vice eventually down the road. I think it's just going to be really important for Sol to be able to go to the main roster. And I think, honestly, she's going to have a pretty long reign. If not, the longest reign in NXT history with this NXT Championship, but whenever she gets a hold of it, I think it'd be the most important thing to do. It'd be the best thing to do, and like I said, she's long overdue. She's been needing that championship, and the fact that WWE didn't pull the trigger on her whenever it was right, I think was a disservice to her. Then we thought this was going to be Johnny Gargano. No. This was Johnny Takeover. Johnny Takeover came and faced Miles Bourne tonight. Not Johnny Gargano, not Johnny Wrestling. Johnny Takeover came after Miles Bourne. And that's the most important thing to me, is how WWE looks at this match and goes, hey, I don't think we should have Johnny lay in the middle of the ring. And then they have him lay in the middle of the ring. I think that that part of the match I thought was... I was expecting it for sure. Johnny just lays flat in the middle of the ring, and then I'm looking at my screen like, what are we doing here? But WWE recovers. They have Johnny come up, and he ends up losing to Miles Bourne here, but it was for the greater good. Because we see Deion Lennox attack Miles Bourne after Miles defends against Johnny, and this leads to a whole nother rabbit hole for Miles Bourne. And this is the smartest thing we can do with this storyline of Miles Bourne. I think that it's important, for sure. It's really important to have Miles Bourne face people like this. I'm going to try to get the camera focused as soon as possible. We'll see how that goes. Chat, y'all know how this goes. Y'all know this camera is like the funkiest camera in all of human mankind. So, it could be blurred for the whole video. As long as I know, I have no clue. This camera is like the dumbest camera of all time. Don't quite know why it is this dumb for how much money it was. But, it's something you have to work around, I guess. It's something you have to work around day in and day out recording these videos, fellas. You can steady see the progress here of attempting to get this camera back in focus. I think we're about there. Anywho, yeah, just normal technical difficulties. One day we'll be there, fellas. We don't got to worry about these things anymore. But they would pull the trigger on having not Johnny Gargano come out there and face a champion. They would have Johnny Wrestling come out there and face a champion, which is what they pulled the trigger on. I'm so glad they did it. He put on a show, and the fact that Deion Lennox came and attacked Miles Bourne without the permission of Dark State is a stepping stone in the right direction. Dark State would question him backstage, and he would say, you know what, next time I guess I will ask you guys. So that's, beautiful. John Cena picked Deion Lennox for the Iron Survivor, and ever since we've been looking at it and talking about it. It's been on our radar ever since, and now it's fully in WWE's radar as well that John Cena picked him for a reason. He is one of the best, and he will remain at the top as long as we're aware of as of now. I think that he'll definitely get a big push, though. There will be a big push in the future for Deion Lennox right here. I think that it is super important to see. It's very obvious to see as well. There's big things coming from him. But we would see a rivalry that, honestly, I wasn't too excited about. I knew the match was going to be good, but I did not think that the rivalry and the build-up to this match was any good. Tatum Paxley versus Blake Monroe. I found it very interesting. I think that WWE having the storyline of Blake Monroe taking the title was just the most basic storyline you could have possibly had leading up to Stand and Deliver. Now, did the match deliver? 100%. Tatum Paxley and Blake Monroe tore the house down. It was a match that I will probably go back and watch tonight as a souvenir, quite literally. It was a great match, probably my second favorite match of the night as far as it goes for the in-ring skills, and Tatum burnt the house down. Blake did her best, and I think that these two styles together was just beautiful. These two women in the ring together, you dang near cannot stop from having a banger, even if they didn't want to have a banger. It was just beautiful work. As far as it goes for where we see Tatum after this, I think that, obviously my prediction was Blake Monroe. And the reason I said Blake Monroe was just to have a refresh. We didn't see Blake Monroe hold that title for a while due to Thea Hill winning it from her. So I think that WWE should have put the title on Blake Monroe here, I will say. But I think the in-ring skills in this match made up for anything that I had to say about the storyline. But I will say I am pretty bummed out that they did not put the title on Blake Monroe here. I think that Blake Monroe was the best choice for this match against Tatum Paxley. I think that Tatum, we've seen her with the title multiple times in the past and over these past few months as well. And every time we've seen it, it's been the same challengers. It's either been Thea Hale or Izzy Damon. It's just been repeatedly the same challengers over and over. And I feel like with Blake Monroe, we could have had a real refresh. We have new women coming into the locker room now. We could have even seen somebody like a Thea Hale, somebody like a Kendall Gray, somebody like a Ren Sinclair challenge for that title. But now I don't think there's anybody that can come up to Tatum Paxley that we haven't seen come up to her before. I think that Tatum Paxley is champion right now in this division is super stale just because we've seen everything there is to be seen. But I still was super pleased with the match. I think the WWE showed out with every booking that they had except for that one. I think that they could have done something else for every match, or something right. They did something right for every match except for this one. I can't get over the hump of, like, why did we not put the title on Blake Monroe there? I think that WWE should have slowed down and thought about it and realized that the fans are kind of tired of Tatum Paxley's over and over and over, week in and week out on NXT, having the same challengers week in and week out. I just think that it needs to have a little switch up, and WWE clearly can't see that yet, but eventually they'll get there. And in the main event, Tony D'Angelo would defeat Joe Hendry, Ethan Page, and Ricky Saints in a absolutely incredible finish. Tony would come off the steps, double spear Ethan and Ricky, eliminate them from the match as far as it could go, then would get back in the ring, manipulate Joe Hendry's choke slam, go off the ropes, a spear into a spine buster to count him out for the 1-2-3. Having Tony become NXT champion is the smartest thing WWE could have done. Now, you look at it on paper, and it's something that you look at and are a bit confused. Joe Hendry just won the title 2 months ago, and I'm sure Joe Hendry's a bit butthurt. But, I mean, it is what it is. It's Tony's time, and like I said, whenever we were talking about this on the scrap, I said this, and I found it very important because whenever the lights went out, whenever Oba vacated, who do we see in the shadows? Tony D'Angelo. Tony said that his two motives and his two phases were to knock off Dark State and to win that NXT championship. He has done both of those phases now, so he's going to hold on to that for a good while. And honestly, I think this is the decision. I think that the new wave of call-ups is eventually going to be coming through in these next few months, and they're going to be loading up the people that need to go up to the main roster and going to be getting them ready, 100% ready, because we just seen them get a full 100% ready stack in Trick, Oba, and Javon. So now they want to push another few out, and I think that Tony might be one of those few. I think that Joe would be a good candidate on the main roster too. I just think Joe has a lot more work he can do in NXT, and we've seen Tony D'Angelo as a staple of NXT for years on end, but I think it's time for him to finally get his moment. He got his moment here in winning the NXT championship, which was phase 2 of his plan. Now he needs to finish phase 3, go up to the main roster, go to work, and start that phase 4. I think that'd be really important for his character. But as far as that goes, I think that this was an insane match. They showed out, but I have to talk about it. My biggest pet peeve during this match, we saw Ethan and Ricky figure out in the middle of the match that they won't be able to team with each other for the rest of the match. So we see them go after each other. We see them finally get the rage to go after each other and the aggression to attack each other. Then, all of a sudden, a switch goes off once again where we see Ricky and Ethan keep the offense and keep going after Tony D'Angelo and Joe Hendry with each other instead of hitting each other. I found that very confusing. You know, if I'm watching wrestling as a new fan, I'm looking at these guys say, hey, let us not be friends during this match. It's a free-for-all, fatal four-way, anything goes. And then we go right back to teaming. I just think that it was something that WWE could have tweaked more. I think that it was definitely a bummer to see that. I think that they could have played more into the storylines there, especially knowing that Ethan and Ricky are both going to lose. So you want to have that storyline being built. Do I want to see a rerun of Ethan versus Ricky? Even though those matches were really good for the NXT North American Championship, I don't want to see the rivalry be reran. I think it's a repetitive storyline. I think that it just shouldn't be redone. But overall, Stand and Deliver was a absolutely banger premium live event. It was, dare I say, the best premium live event of 2026 so far. I think it's valid to say. I think Mania will probably surpass this, but I think that NXT showed out everything they put on the card, every result they had. I think there is a valid reason for every single thing. You can say something good about every result that came out of NXT Stand and Deliver tonight. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and this breakdown/review. Let me know down below what all you think. I know this was a bit of a sloppy one just because the camera was acting up, but hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know down below your thoughts on Stand and Deliver, and I will see y'all boys in the next one. Deuces, deuces.